Hello everyone! Welcome to the halfway point in this course. I first want to bring your attention to our goals for this week. At the end of this week, you'll be submitting your prospectus. And this prospectus, let's just take a look at it now, should be approximately 3 to 6 pages, and it's going to detail what your project will be about, what research you've done to this point, and what you've discovered, as well as what you have left to do. I want you to create this paper as if it were a formal paper. And by this I mean you should be crafting a well thought out introduction with your thesis statement and giving the reader an idea of what is the importance of your research. Much of this prospectus can then be used for your final paper, so don't feel like this is a waste of time. You're expected to use appropriate APA formatting throughout, including in-text citations and a formal reference page. So let's talk about in-text citations for a bit. By that, and I'm going to use a sample paper to show you this. In-text citations allow you to utilize the ideas presented by your sources without necessitating full quotations. And by the way, using full quotations in papers are strongly discouraged. You really don't want to be using full citations full quotations in any of your papers unless absolutely necessary. And if they are necessary, you're really looking at no more than 1 or 2 in a full paper, and those quotations should be very short. So we're not looking at, I don't want to see 5, 6 lines of direct quotations. That's not appropriate in this level of work. In-text citations are going to allow you to avoid that. And they're also going to allow you to avoid the possibility of plagiarism. When you're discussing the findings of other authors, you're going to want to paraphrase their findings or main ideas in your own words. At the end of your sentence or sentences, provide an in-text citation that includes the author's last names and the year. If you're drawing upon multiple sources that support your claims, you can use the abbreviation IE if those are the only examples, or EG if those are just a sample of the available support for those claims. So let's look at an example. You'll see here that I have many in-text citations. And most of mine are EG. And EG means this is just a sample. So here I'm talking about as the term spectrum suggests, individuals with ASDs present with varying degrees of severity within each of the 3 diagnostic categories. So I took this idea from my reading of this source, paraphrased it into my own words, and qualified it with EG because these 2 authors are not the only people that have stated that idea in some sort of way or developed that sort of idea in a research paper. So EG just means this is one of many that have discussed this at some point or time. We'll go down here a little bit more. Since the early 1990s, a surge in ASD diagnoses has occurred. Again, the EG is here because these are not the only people that have discussed this fact. So the more you get used to using in-text citations, the better off you're going to be, because you get to look at their ideas, paraphrase their ideas in your own words, and give them credit within your paragraph directly after you've stated something. Let's say you're talking about one full study and you're giving a summary of a particular study. In that case, you really only need to cite once or twice in a paragraph. So if your entire paragraph is about one study that someone's done, or one research article, or one source that you have, you don't have to cite them after every single sentence that you've paraphrased. But a good rule is you want to start off pretty early on when you start presenting their ideas and cite them, give them credit. Then you can go on, talk about it a little bit more, and then perhaps cite again at the end. So it's just keeping yourself safe to make sure that there's no way that you're going to be um, no one's going to say that you plagiarized anything. Okay. So let's move on to talking about synthesizing literature. When we talk about synthesizing literature, what we mean is that we're taking some sort of common thread among a variety of sources and connecting them. In the paper I've shown you as an example, you'll see a number of independent sources focused on a variety of topics that can be connected through a common denominator. So for example, we're going to look at page 14 here. This can be done within a single paragraph, as well as continuing to build throughout the entire paper through the use of logical transitions. So let's talk about this a little bit more. If you've ever heard about the game 7 Degrees of Separation, so you'll say, a lot of people play it with Kevin Bacon, and you name Kevin Bacon and another movie star, and within 7 degrees, within 7 people, you can connect those two. There's some sort of common thread that ropes in between all of those and connects them. So this is a similar concept, the synthesizing of literature. What is the thing that these sources have in common? How do they connect? How do they contradict each other? You don't want your paper to be a series of summaries of your sources. So I don't want to see, you have 15 sources and I have 15 paragraphs that just give me a summary of each source. That's not a paper. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for you to make connections between each one of those sources, somehow to support your underlying thesis statement. How do those support? How do they connect to each other? How do they connect to your main idea? So your paper should be a story that takes a variety of information that have some sort of common feature or focus and puts it together to support your thesis. So in the sample paper here, my thesis was that online college could be beneficial for students with autism. I began by describing autism, then how college is connected, then what do typical colleges do for individuals on the spectrum, then how are online colleges and programs designed on their own, then how do those design features may act in a beneficial way for individuals with autism, then how other related components might be added to make it even better, then how they could all be put together into a final product, and finally what was still left out there that we needed to learn to make an online college program the best it could be for individuals with autism. There are very few sources that were available that discussed online college for individuals with autism, but there were many sources that discussed pieces of that issue in which I was able to draw upon to create a proposal that was based on solid research. So this is what's going to be very similar to what you're going to be doing in your project. You're going to have your thesis statement, and you're going to have to find many, many sources that are somehow related. Because chances are your thesis statement is not going to have the wide variety of sources that you need that are going to directly pertain to your thesis. You're going to have to draw conclusions. You're going to have to draw connections. So it's not going to be cut and dry that you're going to find 25 sources that talk about your specific question. That's impossible and not going to happen. And if it is possible, that means your topic is way too broad and you have to narrow it. You may find that you want to design your paper in a different way. You may want to demonstrate that one thing is better than another. And in that case, you're going to find research on both sides and support your position based on the quality of your sources. So if you want to say that playing online video games is better than playing actual contact sports, you need to find research that sources that discuss both of those sides, and then make your case as to why one of those sides is inferior to the other, or why one is superior to the other. It's got to be based on sources, on evidence, on facts. Can't just be conjecture in your opinion. You're going to have to develop it based on what your sources are telling you. Conversely, what if you want to investigate why a phenomenon occurs? And in that case, you're going to be working backwards in finding the most directly related sources, and then perhaps moving back into more theoretical, more general concepts. So if you wanted to find out why Facebook adds to depression among women. You're going to start with finding what are some of the most directly relatable sources that talk about Facebook and depression. And then you're going to look at depression and women. And then you're going to look at women and society. And then you're going to look at women in the general culture. So you're going to keep moving backwards to make your strongest argument. So those are a couple of ways that you can go about building your paper. No way is better than the other, as long as you're able to logically and convincingly support your ideas through solid and reliable sources. And that's the most important piece I want you to really take home today, is that your paper needs to be based on solid, good, reliable, academic, scholarly sources. No websites, unless it's a government website, a university website, something along those lines. No blogs, no, it's got to be scholarly sources. You need to be able to back up your claims and make the strongest claim you can. And through what we're talking about, through utilizing in-text citations, identifying your sources, being able to connect them, to synthesize them, identifying how you're going to organize your paper early on, so you know how to do your research in the first place, is going to be a great start. All right. Good luck. Have a great week.